What is up, everyone? We are back with another episode of Shaping the Culture. Let's just get to it. The whole secular sacred divide. There is no distinction in the scriptures. Some of us have trust issues with God, and some of us, it's like, does God really got us? You can't engage the culture with the gospel that first has not engaged you. Like, you know how people are like, oh, that's just who I am. Nah.
Drop the mic. Drop the mic. Drop the mic.
Shaping the code.
My question for either of you that want to answer is kind of talking about discipleship. I remember I was kind of watching something, and it was talking about how Jesus chose his disciples. So when we think about discipleship in the church, it's kind of different to be able to ask someone that you want to disciple you. How much of it do you believe is something that you guys actually have to feel like you have to choose your own disciple, and someone can't really come to you and ask, like, hey, can you teach under me? Like, how much of that is up to you? How much is it up to the Lord? And can people actually ask to be discipled instead of waiting to be chosen?
That's good. I'll go after that, Brian does.
Okay, that's a really good question. I think it depends on what season of life that we're in. I think that if you've been walking with the Lord a good while and you don't have nobody walking with you, I think that you're mature enough to say, man, hi, elders, such and such. I watched your life. I like the way you love your wife, your family. You seem like a good man. Can you teach me? I don't think anything is wrong with that. But I also think that, we should actively be looking for young people to pour into, right? You don't have to know everything. You just have to, be more mature than somebody in the faith to walk with them. But, the guy who discipled me for 10 plus years, who married me, who gave my wife a job in Chicago so I can pursue her, like all the things. His name was Brian Dye. And when I first started to do spoken word poetry in Chicago, he, like, all the rappers knew him, all like Thizzle and Lecrae and all of them, but I didn't know him. And so he stopped following me to all my poetry shows. And I was like, who is this white man following me to all my poetry shows? And it was really, really weird. And, and then he came up to me and was like, yo, you're getting the name out there for poetry. You're a leader kind of in the city, but you don't have a church home. I really think that, God is calling me in your life to disciple you. And I kind of refused it. I was like, yo, first of all, you white. And I'm just being honest. Like, I didn't grow up around white people. And so it was weird, a white guy following me to all of my events, right? And so I called Jackie Hill, who was my friend at the time. And I was like, yo, this white pastor is like literally following me around, like, you know what I mean? And she was like, yeah, don't trust that. I don't trust him, you know what I'm saying? And then 3 months later, she said, I feel like the Lord is telling me that if you have been praying for somebody to come into your life to disciple you, that you shouldn't despise what package that it comes in. And that convicted me. And so I called this man. He was able to tell me his heart. We had lunch, and then he ended up discipling me for 10 years. So I will say this too: don't despise discipleship if it doesn't come in the package that you need. Because I think that if you surround yourself around godly men, even if that man looks completely different, if you surround yourself around godly women, even if that woman is 80 years old and y'all have nothing in common, if she could teach you how to be like Jesus, take it. So that's my advice.
Yeah, and one quick thing I'll say too, I think discipleship is not only taught, it's also caught. I think a lot of the times in the church, we make discipleship this thing where, like, okay, every Friday at 6 a.m., let's meet at Starbucks and go through this book. That's a part of discipleship. That's not the totality of discipleship. I think of the disciples who heard about Jesus, ran up on Jesus, and Jesus like, what do you want? He literally turned around and asked them, what do you want? And they said, where are you staying? You know the verse. And he says, come and see. And they did life together. And I think about this one guy that I'm doing life with in Minnesota. He never formally asked, can you disciple me? He just started going out to eat with me. He started serving in the church. He started coming over. He started playing Mario Kart Double Dash, Super Smash Bros, Melee. I only play the GameCube, I'm sorry. And we started playing video games, and we just started talking. And over time, organically, I began to disciple him as we were doing life together. And till this day, we've never defined it as I'm your discipler, but you don't need to explain what's understood. And we just, we don't meet every Friday at 6 a.m. Sometimes it's him dropping me off at the airport. That's the time where we get to connect. It's him coming to a meeting early and we get a chance to catch up. And so I would say look at somebody's life that you want to model and then hang around them and just see how they live. And then in doing that, I think that you can learn some things about who Jesus is.